Thank you. Member for North Vancouver Lonsdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the coming weeks, people across British Columbia will be receiving ballots for the upcoming electoral reform referendum, collectively making one of the most important decisions that we can about the future of democracy in this great province. When my ballot comes, I will be voting to move away from our old and tired first-past-the-post system towards a proportional representation system. I'm voting for proportional representation because I believe in the promise of democracy, that our governments are elected to carry out the complex and diverse will of the public, and that our voice into our government is through our vote. I believe that in a proper democracy, all people are equal, and that all voices matter, and so all votes should count towards the end result of an election. I look forward to BC joining democracies like Sweden, like Switzerland, Finland, New Zealand, Norway, Belgium, Denmark, Iceland, Ireland. The list goes on to nearly 90 countries around the world that have embraced proportional representation as the way to allow our parliaments to be truly representative of the diversity of political opinion and the diversity of being that truly exists in this province. Where 40% of the vote means 40% of the seats, not 55 or 60% of the seats, like what commonly happens under our current first-past-the-post system, leading to the creation of false majorities that have happened in nearly every single election in the history of British Columbia. It has allowed a plurality of voters, not a majority of voters, to decide for the entire province what values and principles their governments should apply. I also believe in collaboration, in constructive dialogue, in compromise for the betterment of the whole. BC Liberal members are fond of lamenting about the BC Green Caucus holding the balance of power in our legislature. But if the BC Liberals had just been willing to work with us, we today could have a cooperative government representing 80% of the popular vote instead of 60%. They are so busy fighting the future that they don't see that their decision to refuse to collaborate is what puts the balance of power into the hands of the BC Green Caucus. And they have absolutely no one to blame for that but themselves. I look forward to throwing out the old divisive way we do politics here, bolstered by an antiquated first-past-the-post system that tends towards keeping two dominant parties at each other's throats day in and day out. I am tired of the hyper-partisanship that dominates politics here. I am tired of an electoral system that encourages political leaders to be more concerned with the health of their party than the health of the public. Obsessed with who did what, when, whose ideas were better or worse. Majority governments reversing direction on the governments before them just to make a political point. I don't care who comes up with a good policy idea. I just want it to be implemented, and implemented right for the benefit of the public. If it takes two or more parties collaborating, softening the edges of our distinct political ideologies to get things done together, I consider that a good thing and a vast improvement on the status quo. No system of democracy is perfect because humans are terribly imperfect, and Lord knows our elected officials are not infallible. But I do believe that we can do great things together if we set ourselves up to succeed by emphasizing cooperation over divisiveness. If we build our democracy around a system that values constructive conversations and rewards politicians and political parties that know how to play well in the sandbox together, rather than parties and politicians who deploy the best partisan attacks. This fall, I'm voting for proportional representation because I believe in democracy. The question you all have to ask yourselves is whether you do too. Thank you.